Welcome to Yoga Chats with me, your host, Greg Walsh. Today's guest is Aine Kerrigan, also known as the Yoga Bear. Aine has been practicing yoga consistently since 2005 and has actually completed 2 teacher trainings, 500 hours with Yoga Therapy Ireland and 300 hours with Jivamukti Yoga in New York. In 2019, one of the staff in Samadhi told me I should check out Aine as she was an inspiring yogi and a really cool person. And I can now confirm that Aine is an inspiring yogi and a really cool person. So Aine started teaching in Samadhi in January 2020, just before lockdown, and we haven't looked back. Aine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. And thanks for the introduction.
Not at all. Well earned, well deserved. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. I'm wondering, Aine, why did you take up yoga?
Oh, why did I take up yoga? Well, the first few reasons aren't as wholesome as you might think. At first, I was probably just starting college and Madonna was doing it, and it seemed like it was something cool to do. So I took up yoga and I didn't like it at first. So I was sort of dabbling in it for a little while, and it just was a bit too slow for me. So I kind of left and just went about being a college student and doing all the things that college students do. And then I came back to it again shortly after my mum died. I was kind of looking for something to sort of help me process what I was going through. And again, it just wasn't for me. I came from a dance background, so I was used to being on stage and performing. And I found myself like performing on my mat, like, look how good my Trikonasana is, or my warrior. And I wasn't getting the validation about how good my Trikonasana was. So it was very, very much ego based, and it just wasn't for me at that time. Again, I found it quite slow too. So instead, I joined kickboxing and just punched my way through processing my grief. But then I found myself a few years later in sort of a stressful kind of position. I was quite frustrated in the job that I was in, and I felt a bit stuck in a rut with my life and what I was doing and where I was going. So I was kind of seeking out different sort of energy healers and different things to kind of help me. And the one common thread that was coming through advice from these people is, you should try yoga, you should take up yoga. So I went back and committed myself. And at the time, there wasn't many studios around either. So it was hard to find a class that was, at a time that suited and in a place that suited. But I did find a place, and I took up one of those introductory offers where I could go to a couple of different classes and get a good deal, I suppose. So I tried all the teachers, all the classes, found a style that I really, really liked, and I haven't looked back.
What was that? Can I ask? What style did you take?
It was vinyasa. It was vinyasa. So I had been going to like regular sort of hatha classes, and like I was saying, it was a bit slow and static for me, and I just loved the flow of vinyasa, the continuous movement, and I found it, enough of a challenge that I wanted to improve on it. So that was again my ego kicking in, so it was still kind of a factor. So yeah, and I haven't looked back since, and here I am. That's what helped me take up yoga.
Here you are. Yeah, it's a good story. It's not an unusual story. Well, we all come from different angles, but yeah, it can take a while to to find what resonates with you. Yeah, I think in ways we're polar opposites. I'm not a vinyasa person. I'm very static. I go into a pose and I drill hard into the pose, and I come out of it and I walk around the room and go into the next pose.
Try the next one.
Try the next one. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So can I ask you another question? I'm wondering, as someone, I'm dialing back a little. You were saying Madonna was doing yoga. I'm guessing that was that her Ray of Light album?
Yeah, it would have been around the mid-90s.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. It's like 96 or something, maybe 98. Yeah, that's a long while ago. So you're at yoga on and off, and more on than off for a long time. So have you any advice for beginners?
Yeah, well, I think what I did was what finally, I think yoga finds you at the right time. And so I was, trying it, but it wasn't working for me. And, I just kept going back to it. I kept coming back to it. And I think what's important is to try different teachers, different styles, because there is a yoga for everyone. And there is a yoga for everyone at different times of their lives. Like say, in 10 years time, I could be at a place in my life where the, vinyasa, the rigorous, challenging practices is too much for me. And maybe I'll come back to yin or restorative yoga. But I feel like there's a yoga for everyone. So don't be put off by the first class that you try or the first teacher that you try. Not everybody likes my class, not everybody likes me, and I'm okay with that, but I would like them to try yoga with somebody else, because I think it's so beneficial for us in our lives these days that to give up just because of a style or a teacher that you don't like, it would be a shame. And also what helped me was workshops. So I went regularly and consistently to classes, but I kind of a type of person who, once I like something, I'm all in, and I want to learn everything. I want to learn what the experts know, So I was going to lots of workshops at weekends. I just really immersed myself in it. And I learned so much from just that time of being a student.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I think you can get a lot from a regular class, but you can really expand your yogic parameters if you go to workshops. Yeah, I'm a big fan as well. So, and I find I go to a workshop, and if I gain one thing from that workshop, that's a worthwhile workshop. So
absolutely.
And yeah, you're so right about, there are so many ways to approach yoga. Everyone will eventually find a way, they'll find a style, they'll find a teacher. So, because not everyone is for everyone. So I know a lot of people don't like my style either. And that used to bash my ego, but now I realize it's, I can just do my best, and people like it, great. And if not, they'll find something. So
yeah, and at a later stage, they might come back to your class and go, oh, I like it now, because they've worked through whatever they needed to work through with another teacher. Because I think it's good to still try different teachers, even when you've found a teacher that's worked for you. Keep your options open, because there might be something new that you can learn from somebody else as well.
So true. I'm going to ask you a question that may feed into, you were talking about your own ego. I don't want to feed into your ego, but I'm wondering, are you flexible? That's such a question that students always ask and wonder. They want to see your practice. So are you flexible? And more importantly, does it matter?
No is the answer. I'm not very flexible at all, particularly when I started out. I mean, obviously it's improved over time, my flexibility. And one interesting thing that I found is that since I've become more flexible in my lifestyle, so since I have become less rigid in my 9 to 5, I used to work a 9 to 5 job, and now I kind of work a job where I could be working at any time. And once, since my mindset has changed in that way, I've found my practice has changed in that I've become more flexible. So I really think those two are interconnected. But the other question that you asked is, does it matter? And the answer is no. I don't think it matters at all, because basically, yoga is about, the word means union, and you want to bring together your body, mind, and spirit into this moment in time and really connect into yourself so that you can connect to others in a better way. So what does flexibility have to do with that? I mean, if it's interlinked with how rigid you are in your ideas and your views, then yes, there is a factor in that. It's important in that sense. But, getting your leg over your head isn't a yogic goal. And the practice of yoga itself isn't goal orientated. It's just about, doing your best, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds to me, it's a little bit like, say, if you took up art and there are two separate things going on. If you're painting a picture, There's the pleasure you gain from painting the picture, and then there's presenting, there's exhibiting the picture on a wall. And if yoga is not goal orientated, it's not about exhibiting the picture on the wall. So plainly, the practices of yoga is like painting the picture. And while you get satisfaction, if you can paint a perfect circle or paint a straight line or paint a scene or whatever it is, it's just the physical act of painting really that gives you so much benefit. That is very soothing, very calming, very grounding, etc., etc. And sometimes I think, because like you, I wasn't at all. I was very stiff when I started, and I've still some stiff areas. And I had a setback last year, and I'm working back toward flexibility again. And it really makes me realize that it's the process, and it doesn't matter how far in the process I am. It is just the doing, getting into a pose, drilling into it, as I said, but watching what happens. And in a way, it's more, yoga's more useful perhaps if you're stiffer, because you gain, the process is much more expansive. Because if you are a dancer and you can just do everything and throw your leg behind your head, and then you don't get to benefit from the workings inside the yoga practice.
Yeah, and I think I definitely totally agree with you there, because it's more time spent, exploring where your edges are and just gently moving past that. And I have a lot of gratitude for my inflexibility, or because basically, my muscles are keeping me safe. They don't want me to overstretch. Which can also be an issue in class. Like if you see somebody that's in class that's really flexible, they might not have the strength to balance that out. So, I have to be grateful to my muscles for minding me, keeping me strong, and helping
strength
me to
and
not
stretch.
overstretch.
Yeah, so true. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Okay.
What takeaway can viewers bring home from our yoga chats today?
I think the most important is, have an open mind. If you're finding something challenging or you're not enjoying it, then, try something else, try another teacher, try another class. There's a yoga for everyone, basically. If you were to tie it up in one sentence, there's a yoga for everyone.
Aine, that is absolutely lovely. That's really so nice. And on behalf of all of our viewers, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to have these yoga chats today, Aine. So that's all for now, folks. I'm Greg Walsh.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for watching. I hope you can join us for more yoga chats soon. Aine, thank you so much.
Thanks, Emil. Great to see you.